Welcome everyone, and welcome to Monday morning 9 a.m. Hangout with Coach Kerry. Today this is episode 61, and the topic today is fire yourself and hire a boss. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions just to see whether this is the episode for you. Are you an entrepreneur, maybe a solo entrepreneur that finds you don't get enough things done every day? Maybe in the week, or maybe even in the month, maybe even in the year, you look back and say, wow, where did that year go? And look at all the things I was going to do and I didn't get done. Maybe are you frustrated with your results that you're getting in your business? Well, then possibly this episode might shed some light on why that's occurring for you and maybe the possible cause of it. So I urge you to stay and listen to the very end. Today I've got two VIP panelists on here to ask me some questions and to get some coaching today, and I'd like to go right into introducing them to you. So the first one is Kathy Scott. Kathy, why don't you share with our audience today what it is you do and what business you're in?
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Kerry. Thanks for having me on again. I have a business called Niche Travel, and I specialize in boutique women's tours all around the world. They're absolutely spectacular. And as a matter of fact, Kerry, you are hosting one to Ireland this year for us. So if anyone's interested in Ireland, give us a shout. You can find us on www.nichetravel.ca.
And also, Kathy, tell them about the world's greatest packing list, how they can get that from you too.
Oh, right. You can go online, and if you go on to my women's section of my webpage, you'll see there's a women's best packing list you can sign up for, and you'll sign up for our newsletter as well.
Great, excellent. That packing list is just invaluable. There's things on there like duct tape. Who would have thought you needed to take duct tape with you when you travel? But
good thing to have.
Yeah, suitcases fall apart. Hems on pants need to be, put in. It's pretty useful. Dr. Diana, tell us about you.
Thank you, Kerry. I'm Dr. Diana Galbraith, and what I do is I work with women who have invested so much time and energy into their business and often at the expense of their own health. I'm a retired former family physician, and if they go to my website, www.firstgethealthy.com, that's 1stgethealthy.com, they can also sign up for 10 essential steps to healthy weight loss and get on my newsletter, a monthly newsletter where they can get some really good tips and ideas for going forward in improving their health.
Excellent. Great. Thank you. And Diana, you forgot to mention today that you're a mother of 7 children. So you talk about a busy woman in business. That's you. So you can tell people a lot about what that's about. So yeah. Thank you. That's great. So to my audience today, just a couple of things. One of them is I've now started a podcast on iTunes, and so you can go and listen to some of the episodes. Hangout with Coach Kerry is the podcast channel on iTunes, and there will be episodes just like this where you can listen to audio. So if you're a person who likes to listen to these kinds of things on your maybe on your phone, an iPod, while you're driving, then this is another opportunity for you to be able to do that. So please go check it out, and make sure you subscribe and comment if you happen to listen to them. That would be great. So let me ask you a couple of questions here today. Did you start your business, because this is really all around trying to understand what was your motivation for starting your business. So let's see if any of these resonate with you. You started your business because you didn't want to have a boss anymore. You were tired of being in that kind of structured environment. Maybe you wanted more flexibility in your day, in your schedule, to take time off during summer, to be with your kids, be able to go to baseball games or soccer games or whatever they might do, dance recitals, whatever it might happen to be, that in the work environment you were in, it was too rigid and didn't offer that opportunity for you. You might also didn't like anyone telling you what to do. That here's what you need to do. Here's the pieces of this job description, and there's always things when people are telling you what to do that you don't like to do. So that might resonate with you. The other thing is too, you didn't want to be accountable to someone else for your results. So in other words, somebody checking in with you, you have to report back. You said you were going to do something by a certain date, and gosh, you got to go tell somebody that you didn't do it or you did do it. So those might have been some of your motivations. Yes, there might have been to make money and do other things, but I think that from the 18 years that I have been a business coach, and I've been talking to lots and lots of solo entrepreneurs, those reasons tend to be quite fundamental to the reasons why people decided to start their own business. So if that resonates with you, then this episode is definitely for you. The problem is with all of that is that if that's really the underlying reason for us starting our business, we don't understand that when we're starting and building a business, that it's going to be more work than we ever thought it was going to be. That is what happens. And I bet you everybody's going to nod their head and say, yes, it's so much harder work than I thought it was going to be. So, and the reason is you're trying to get the kind of like, use the analogy, the train out of the station. When the train's going down the track and it's got some momentum and things are kind of rolling, then it's not going to require as much fuel, as much energy, as much focus on all the equipment to get it moving down the track. Well, exactly the same thing for your business. When you're starting a business and when you're building it, growing it to get to a revenue place where you want it to be, it's going to require a lot of focus. It's going to require a lot of energy. You're going to use a lot of fuel. So that means instead of working the hours that you would have in your job, you're going to probably be working maybe even twice as many hours. And that's just a fact. That is the truth. So kind of at this point in time, you need to kind of say to yourself, do I accept that or do I not? And if you don't, then it's about reshifting what your goals are, reshifting your expectations. Because I hear a lot of frustration, some upset. Recently I had a client that said, I was so tired of working for somebody else, I was determined I was going to put more money in my pocket and work for myself. And then they said, but here I am, look at all the other things I'm doing now. I never get a chance I don't have a social life anymore, I don't see my friends anymore, I don't see my family anymore. Well, the fact of the matter is that when you were in a job, you only had one series of tasks to do. That was related to working in that position. But now that you own a business, well, now your responsibility, you are the marketing department, you are the sales department, you are the customer service department, you are the human resources department, you are the financial management department, and you are the one who looks at all your numbers on the bottom line and all the other things included in that. So you're juggling all the time. So of course that's where the extra time is going to be. That's one of the things that we really have to grasp. First off, is that there's going to be a lot more that we're going to be doing. So okay, you've accepted that. You said, okay, I get that now. So here's the problem: is that when we get frustrated with the fact that we're working too many hours and not enough money, what we want to do is we want to turn that frustration into some motivation to take a look at some analysis there, because one of the things is, I don't know where it's written that you're going to quit your job and you're going to replace your income immediately. Like, I don't know, Diana, Kathy, have you ever heard that written anywhere that that's going to happen? Because I haven't yet. I think you both also know a lot of other people who are in business who are saying, this is like, I'm frustrated. They're struggling. So first of all, you have to accept that this is what it is when you go into business. It is going to be hard. It's going to take a lot of energy. It's going to take a lot of resources. It's going to take a lot of finances. So you want to really focus on that, and because that's going to fuel what I'm going to talk about today, which is how to really understand that you need to fire yourself and hire a boss. So you want to be really, really, really mindful of how you're spending your time. And in a job situation, you're told what to do, right? That if you were the boss of you, let me ask you this question: would you fire yourself some days? Would you say, you didn't do enough work today, you're on probation? You didn't get done what you said you were going to do, I'm going to check in and see whether you get this done tomorrow. See, one of the problems is that when we're in business for ourselves is we aren't doing that analysis that a boss would have and saying, how am I going to use this person to the best for this business that I have, that I'm running? Like, in terms of their skills and abilities. Because they're always looking at, they want them to do high value, results-based activities. High value, results-based activities. So they're going to be looking for everyone to give 110%. That's what they're looking for. So let me ask you this: in your day, do you give 110%? You may work long hours, and I see people working long hours all the time. Often it's not on the right activities, and they're spending their time on things that are not high value and results-based activities. So what I want you to do is I want you to embrace this philosophy of 10 hours work for 8 hours pay. When our son got his first job just a year ago, we talked to him about this philosophy. Now, it has to be reminded over and over again, but we said, you don't just show up when your shift starts. You show up 5-10 minutes early. Get yourself ready for the shift. If you need to stay an extra few minutes afterwards because there's something going on, and you're working with a customer or whatever, you do that. You don't say, well, I'm sorry, I got to go. My job's up or my time's up. Because from a boss's standpoint, who are they going to promote? Who are they going to give the plum jobs to? Who are they going to give the plum positions to? The person that has that philosophy and that attitude of 10 hours work for 8 hours pay. So in your business, you really have to adopt that philosophy as well, which is, okay, I got to give everything I've got, and I got to make sure what I'm giving is the rightest high-value activities that are there. So I jokingly call it, you have to be the boss and the bossy. So fire yourself as the boss if you're doing if you're not doing what you said you're going to do, and then rehire yourself as that boss who's going to watch over you. So you've got to be the boss and the bossy. So I want to just imagine for an example is that you have a day in your office or your day working, and you're kind of pulling out of the driveway, so to speak, as if you're finished your day, but you can't get out because I'm parked in the car behind you. So you stop the car, you put it in park, turn off the car, and you get out and you say, what are you doing here, Kerry? And I said, well, I'm here to check in. How was your day? Did you get the results you were looking for today? Did you do those things that you said you were going to do today? And if not, why are you pulling out of the driveway? You need to get those things done. Again, we're talking high-value, results-based activities, because too often what we're doing is we're spending time just that kind of wide open prairie of time. Oh, I got time to do this, and I've got to do this, and I've got to do this and do this. But those are times when I want you to be asking yourself, is this a high value activity? So chances are, if I was behind you in the car and you came around and talked to me, you might sort of sheepishly say, well, no, I didn't, because, well, my relatives came into town and they wanted to meet me for lunch, so we went, and well, the next thing I know, a quick 1-hour lunch turned into a 3-hour lunch. Okay, so when are you going to do the work that you were going to do? So this is the kind of philosophy I want you to adapt. Because if you were in your job and you had, I'm going to use the joke, relatives are coming into town, but something like that, or someone says, oh, let's meet for tea, or let's meet for coffee, or whatever it happens to be, you want to look at that. Is that a high value activity? Now, if it's a strategic alliance, if it's somebody that it's a good strategic meeting, then yes, it's worth your time. If it's somebody just to get together for an enjoyable amount of time, are you going to do that during your work hours? Well, if you were working for me in a job environment, what would you have to say to them? I'm available in the evening, or I'm available on the weekends, right? You're not going to take that time during the day. And family is the hardest thing. We've all got kids, and we've got other obligations and all of that. But the fact of the matter is, we need to train them that we have a job, that they can't just show up all over the place. I hear it so many times that people say that people don't respect the fact that they're in business for themselves because they phone during the day and want to have a long conversation with them. So I long ago had to educate my relatives that these are work hours for me. And I'm okay to talk other times, but those are work hours for me because those are high value times for me. That's when I can get the best results. That's when I can get in touch with people that I need to. So I've had to train them. I've had to set those boundaries with them. It's really, really a key piece. So I've talked a fair bit already to kind of set the stage for this, and I know as my panelists you've probably got some questions now. So I'm going to open it up, and whichever person wants to go first, just open up your mic and ask me your question around kind of what I've said so far. If you want some clarification, just so we can add some some richness and some deeper exploration in this topic for our audience today. Oh, Kathy, I can see you're talking, but you're still on mute there. There you go.
Sorry, thought I had unmuted. What I was wanting to ask was, you're talking about high-value results-based activities. So, I mean, how do you determine at any one given time what those are if you're scheduling yourself this way? Great question. Because at this point in time, often people don't know, when you're just kind of doing stuff. And that's why looking at all your activities and doing some evaluation of whether those are activities that get the results that you want.
So let's say you decide you're going to do a particular marketing campaign, or you're going to create a newsletter, for example. Well, what are your expectations from your newsletter? What are you doing it for? You know, do you have an expectation of that? Is that going to generate X number of new shares that's going to happen? Or is it going to get the phone to ring? Or if you're going to put an ad in a newspaper somewhere, you know, what kind of results do you expect from it? Too often we say, well, it's branding and it's getting my name out there, but the fact of the matter is, if you're frustrated because you're not making enough money, then you need to be focused on money-making activities. And how do you know what are money-making activities? The only way you can know that is if you actually start looking at all the activities you're doing and start tracking some of the results. Now, some of the things are support to high-value activities, right? So in other words, if you know that I'm just going to make this up in the moment here, but if you know that by creating some kind of a little contest in your newsletter might get more shares in your newsletter, which is going to increase your database, which will then give you more activity, because you know that increasing your database is a high value activity. So you're going to do a number of things to increase that database number. Well, then writing the copy for that, or thinking of ideas, or doing some research on contests is valuable because it's actually moving towards that, if that makes sense. Going on to Facebook, for an example, and just spending time on there is not a high value activity unless it's strategic, and you know that by following this sort of series of campaign that you will get more people engagement with you, and then maybe a contest or something as well. So everything that you're doing, you're analyzing. Is this getting the results I want? Is this getting the results I want? So then over time, Kathy, you'll be able to evaluate whether those things are and whether they're not high value activities for you. If you know, for an example, Kathy, meeting with a woman who has a love of travel, and she's your ideal client, for an example. If you know, meeting with her with a proposal about how she might introduce what you do to a circle of women that she knows, or you might be asking her to write a blog on your website, for example, about some of the travel that she's done with you. So that's a high value activity because you know that that's going to increase her engagement with you and your brand and your business, that it's going to show up in her circle of influence too, because she's going to be promoting it to them, because she's going to be saying, look, I wrote this article, and here's my trip, and here's my photographs, and here's how you can see the photographs of my trip. You go to the nichetravel.ca website, right? So those are high value activities. So I think actually when you do a little bit of that kind of analysis, when you step back as a boss would do, and move out of working in your business to working on your business and having that kind of overview on it, you will be able to determine what are those high value activities. I think you can. What do you think about that, Kathy?
It makes lots of sense, Kerry. Great, thank you.
Good, excellent. Diana, do you have a question for me right now?
Well, I'm wondering how you deal with the tyranny of the urgent, because it often seems that the urgent things, which at the moment are urgent, push out the important things, whether they're business related or other areas in your life. That's what I find often happens to me, is I'll get on a certain track and I'll be going fine, and then something will come along, some urgent request that I need to deal with that kind of pushes me off track.
Right. Great question as well. So thinking about boss and bossee, if you were to go to your boss and ask yourself, okay, boss, here's what I've been doing, which is what you were asking me to do. This is the high value activity, and now this has shown up. Where should I spend my time? So is that the tyranny of the urgent, is that strategic? Is it someone else's agenda? Maybe there's some learning in it. Maybe this is something that procrastination has caused it to be urgent. So maybe there's some learning in there as well for you about project managing something, so that you're not always scrambling for that last minute. So there's a lot of really good analysis you can do if you kind of put that boss hat on and versus the person kind of just doing the work. So it's really key to be always asking yourself that, and also taking a look at the projects you're working on and the timelines, and making sure that you're assessing the amount of time to do something so that it doesn't become a pressure at the very end. In Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, one of the things that I use a lot in my coaching business is the time management matrix. And the matrix is of things that are urgent, actually urgent, or on the left-hand column. It's a 4-box matrix, and the top are important. So the top left-hand box of that are important and urgent. And that's where the tyranny of the urgent often shows up in. It can also show up, though, in the not important and urgent because it's somebody else's agenda. So you really want to be taking a look at that and say, okay, what do I do to actually eliminate the tyranny of the urgent? Do I need to educate people? Is it a particular individual or is it a particular circumstance? So look for themes here. Look for reoccurring things of what you can do. Often some kind of structure that you can put in place can avoid that. So it's about telling people, here's best when to communicate with me. Here's what's happening for me over the next month. If you have deadlines, then I need to know ahead of time. So a lot can happen when you step back and put on that boss role. And if you imagine that boss looking at yourself and saying, how are you spending your time? Where is the best place for me to be delegating work to you to be able to do? I think that you're going to get some answers there that are there. So Diana, was that useful for you? Do you think that's helpful for you around that tyranny of urgent question?
Oh yeah, that was very good. Yeah. I'm going to have to get that book you talked about.
Mm. Yeah, it's very I mean, the time management matrix is excellent. The book actually is excellent. It's a bestseller. It's been around forever. I will forewarn you, it's a little dry to read, so you don't want to read it before you go to bed. It's probably a first thing in the morning broken into bite-sized chunks, but there's a lot of really, really key stuff in it. So the other concept I want to share with you, and it's really about this level of commitment that you make. Here we are, Monday mornings, 9 a.m. I noticed this morning when I was in the shower, I'm thinking about a lot of the things that I want to get done this week, and we're always pretty energized Monday morning, I find anyway, because it's the start of a new week. It's the start of something fresh. And by Wednesday, the reason they call it hump day is because that we've all of a sudden kind of lost that energy. That's almost sort of at if you were looking at a year, kind of the 90-day mark in something. So how can you create that sense of urgency all the time? Well, a couple of things. One of them is that I recommend at the end of every day, you treat yourself like you're a retail business and you've got to cash out at the end of every day. So if you had money in the till, you'd have to cash out because you're not going to leave money in the till. So you're going to know how much business you did that day. You're going to do that kind of check-in of what it's like. So what I want you to do as a business owner is I want you to sort of cash out every single day in your business. How much money did you make? Did you do what you said you were going to do? Did you do those top 3, high-value activities, those non-negotiables this day? And if you didn't get them done, then the question, there's really a question in that. It's not meant to beat yourself up and give yourself a bad time and feel, awful about the fact that you didn't get it done. You didn't get the things done. What I want you to do is it's an opportunity for you to be able to look and say, okay, what was missing in my schedule that if I had had it in place, I actually would have got this done? So start to look at what kind of structure you need. So, for example, for most people, first thing in the morning is when they are more in control of their day, especially if your business has a tendency to be one that's very client-focused and client-driven. So you do those high-value activities first thing in the morning. So if you didn't get them done at the end of that day, then those get transferred to tomorrow's top things that you get done, and you don't do anything else until those get done. So cash out your day at the end of every day. The other piece I do is at the end of every week, my coaching clients send me what's called an Accountability Friday email. And again, often people go into business to not want to be held accountable by anybody, but the fact of the matter is they've hired a coach because they want to accelerate the results. They want to get results faster than left to their own devices because they'll buy into their own excuses. So the Accountability Friday is that week check back. And that's really important. It's a little bit higher view than the end of your day, but it's really looking at that view saying, did I move my major projects forward? Am I moving closer to the goal I've set in this next 12 weeks? Because you want to try and keep that momentum going, that energy moving forward. So what am I going to do to move this project forward today? What am I going to do this week? And then reviewing it back. And at the end of every month, the end of the month is kind of a finish to start anew. You want to get that energy again, so you want to focus on what you accomplished. Acknowledge what you got accomplished as well. Too often what we focus on is what we didn't get done, and I want you to focus on also what you did get done. What were your wins? So acknowledge those as well, and then say, okay, what did I learn? And then how am I going to transfer that into next month and the things that I'm going to accomplish? And I guarantee you the people who get a lot done are doing this on a constant basis. They're always looking at that productivity. The other piece, too, that I want to throw into this mix today is that when we make a commitment to other people, usually we will hold ourselves accountable to that because we consider that to be a promise. Would both you, Kathy and Diana, I'm sure you'd agree with that. You can do it on yes. When we make a commitment to somebody else, we're more likely to do something, which is, again, why the value of coaching works really well as a result of that. But when you make a commitment to yourself, it's too easy to let yourself off the hook. So I want you to adopt this philosophy is when you make a commitment to yourself, I want you to think about that commitment you're making to yourself and ask yourself, am I going to hold this commitment to myself even after the mood that I've set it in has passed? Because too often we'll make a commitment in the mood we're in. We're excited about something, and we'll make a commitment to ourselves or to other people. But when the mood that was in has passed, then we no longer want to hold that commitment. And I want you to look at that as a promise to yourself, because that's like having a boss. That's holding yourself accountable. So I think that's one of the last pieces I really want to share with you today. So at the end of the day, you want to ask yourself, did I keep the commitments that I asked myself to do? As part of my Accountability Friday email, did I keep my commitments this week? And that's a really, really important piece. So again, this is about firing yourself as your boss, right? Then rehiring yourself as a new boss with a new kind of mindset that's here. So Kathy and Diana, I'd love to have your ahas, your takeaways, any last questions you have for me from this episode today.
Well, I would say for me, Kerry, just the idea of actually taking myself out and saying, okay, you're the boss, and making myself accountable to myself is really good, because it is hard as a solopreneur and to get sidetracked with, especially right now with the weather being so beautiful. So it's good.
Good, excellent, good. And how about you, Dr. Diana?
Well, I would just actually echo what was said there, because I think just taking yourself out of the picture and looking at yourself as the boss and really holding yourself accountable and putting those steps in place to make sure that you do hold yourself accountable.
Okay, everyone, hang tight for a moment. We just lost our. Hey, Diana, we just lost our. I got locked out for a minute. I'm right back in. So please share again what your takeaway was. Thank you.
Well, I was just echoing there that I totally agree that putting yourself out of the picture and looking at yourself as the boss is just so valuable. And I really like the end of the day check-in and the end of the week check-in, because I think if you're doing that, you're gonna see where you're at and what you're doing and what you're not doing. So.
Yeah, great, excellent, thank you. Well, for our audience today, make sure that you connect with me on Google+. I'm Hang Out with Coach Kerry, so please do come and hang out there with me and follow me and interact with me. And in addition to that, I wanted to tell you that I'm going to be announcing there as well a small group coaching program. And that small group coaching program is going to be done online, so you don't need to be face-to-face. It's a lot more affordable than working directly one-to-one with me, but you're going to get all the benefits of my wisdom. And so it's a very small group, maximum 6 people in the group, and I would love for you to be part of that. So please do be in touch with me if you'd like to find out more before I make the official launch and announcement of that. I'd love to have you as part of that and hold you accountable and help you learn to be your boss of yourself. So anyway, thank you very much for listening today. It was a great episode, and thank you to my VIP panelists again. Please do check out their websites and find out what they're about, because I appreciate them and their time today and making this episode much more interesting for all of you. So again, everybody, tune in next week, same time for episode 62. I look forward to talking to you then. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.